the most far-reaching thing that happened is going to prove to be the Jayson Tatum injury, I believe, right? And as we sit here, let's operate on the assumption that what has happened is a career-altering injury, not a career-ending one, not that Jayson Tatum won't ever be excellent, but I want to know your opinion on this because you have a great grasp of NBA history. Derrick Rose maybe fits what I'm talking about here, but I cannot think of an injury to a player this age that I think just on its face will have such long-term implications perhaps for the future of the NBA. Because with Derrick Rose, it turned out to be the first injury, and then you had the ACL tear, then you had the meniscus, and it was kind of a thing after a thing after a thing. An injury like it looks like Tatum suffered is the kind of thing where you know off the rip, this guy is probably not going to be the same again, right? Like it's that form of injury. But it's also an injury that in my experience doesn't happen to guys at 26 years old. Like these sorts of things normally happen to people much later. But he is a top 4 or 5 MVP candidate in the league. His teams have consistently gone to the conference finals or better for an 8-year period. He is an Olympian. And his team, while they're going to have to figure something out with what to do with the salary cap and everything else, look to be in a position after winning a championship to keep being good. And at the very least, the team would have Jayson Tatum, right? You start there and then you work the rest out. There are questions about just how good he is, but saying we start with Jayson Tatum is not the worst place to be. Now there's a potential for a career-altering injury here. And I look at the Celtics, who've got, 5 guys that make something like $30 million a year, counting Tatum, and try to figure out what they do and what that means the East is now. If you're a star player, do you now want to go to the East because the East now looks a little more wobbly than it had before? Everything is haywire. The Knicks might be able to make it to the NBA Finals in part because this has happened. Like, I feel like the whole league got shaken up when Tatum went to the ground.
100%. And when you look at the Jayson Tatum injury and what it looks like to be an Achilles injury, the mechanism of pushing off that ground and having him grab at the ankle and not put weight on it at the end, this is what went through my mind is we've got 5 Achilles tears this season, 5 Achilles tears in the NBA this season. Damian Lillard, we had James Wiseman, who's, a number 2 pick, but not a guy.
Wow, that guy had one.
He had one, and it was kind of under the radar because he has fallen out of the league here and there. Jayson Tatum comes into this year having played just about every season deep into the postseason, playing the Olympics, and I dare say the Boston Celtics have never faced this situation. Like, they've never had a situation in which they have to look at the foreseeable future without Jayson Tatum. I looked at this up, Bo. Since he entered the league, Jayson Tatum has played more games and more minutes than any other player in the NBA. He has averaged 88 games a year since he was drafted number 3 overall in 2017. This guy is a constant. He is the Iron Man of the Boston Celtics. When you look at how to build the team over the next 5 years, you could pencil in Jayson Tatum there. And now they got to erase it for the next season, it looks like, with a devastating leg injury. And we're operating under the assumption that this is going to be something that will, at the very least, knock him out for much of next season and potentially beyond. So what you're looking at is a Boston Celtics team that just sold, by the way, to another group trying to get in on the Jayson Tatum and Boston Celtics business. And I wonder how much this injury might have changed the math on that business proposal and that ownership group looking to acquire when their best player might be out for the next season. You look at Klay Thompson, a guy that in the 2019 NBA Finals was the Iron Man of the Golden State Warriors and then went down with an ACL injury and then an Achilles injury. That is the only comp I can come up with a guy who was so durable, so stable, and then all of a sudden gone for about a year and a half. And I'm not saying that we're going to have a double whammy of Jayson Tatum having an ACL and an Achilles. We have never seen a player come back from that combo before. But the only player that has... Other than Klay Thompson. Right. I'm saying until Klay Thompson did it, we had never seen a player do that, right? Unprecedented. So that's really what we're looking at is Klay Thompson is the only player who has played as many games as Jayson Tatum has through his first 8 seasons of his career. Like, The last one to do it, 700 games over 8 seasons, is Klay Thompson. And everyone thought that dude is going to be out there. He's a hooper. He's a gamer. He's a gym rat. He's going to be out there. And then all of a sudden, everything changed. The difference is Klay Thompson wasn't Steph. Jayson Tatum is the Steph of this Boston Celtics franchise. And so you can point to Derrick Rose. You can point to, I'm trying to think of another cataclysmic injury like this for a guy in his prime after winning a championship. It's tough to pinpoint one because it's just so rare, right? It's just the guy is the Iron Man. And I think that's what's lost on people is he's played 24,900 minutes since he entered the league. He has played more minutes in the NBA than Karl Anthony Towns has. And Karl Anthony Towns was drafted 2 years before Jayson Tatum was drafted. He has already played more minutes than Jaylen Brown played in his NBA career, and Jaylen Brown was the number 3 pick in 2016. So Jayson Tatum, this idea that he's going to be out potentially for the next season is something that the Boston Celtics have never faced because he's always been there. He's been a metronome. He's been the constant for the Boston Celtics. And now with a CBA that is so punitive that it freezes first down the line first round picks so you can't trade them, it makes it much harder to trade and get out of your mess, as the Phoenix Suns found out this year. This is a potential for the Boston Celtics to look in themselves in the mirror and say, like, this group, this core that we had that we thought we were going to keep for another season, it might make sense to move off of this and try to rebuild on the fly or retool on the fly without Jayson Tatum going forward for the next foreseeable future.
You bringing this up about James Wiseman is really interesting to me because, again, as I was saying, I don't think of the Achilles as a young man's injury. I think of it as an older player's injury. Kevin Durant's Achilles was in year 12. Kobe Bryant was in year 16. Dominique Wilkins, I believe he tore his Achilles when he was 32 or something like that. And that was the gold standard for, you can be good again. But he was really only good again for about a year because of the point in his career where it happens. Guys this age with what is by and large an overuse injury, right? Like it's a little tear, boom, pop, right? Like that's basically, the mechanism by which this normally takes place. It is staggering to think, as you said, 5 guys having this happen this year, that not that this is the new normal, but this is something that's on the board that I would not have thought would have been on the board.
Well, Bo, let me put this in another way. DeJounte Murray, 28 years old, this year suffered a torn Achilles, and he was out with the New Orleans Pelicans for much of this season. So it's not just Damian Lillard, who's on the back nine of his career. It's a guy like DeJounte Murray, who's like Jayson Tatum, entering his prime years. And the new normal, it is actually the new normal. These stars who are getting hurt at the postseason when it matters most. If Donovan Mitchell misses Tuesday night's game, that would mean there are 6 All-Stars who are missing playoff games this postseason. In the 1995 to 1999 postseasons, we only saw 4 players, 4 All-Stars combined in those 5 seasons to miss a playoff game. We've already seen 6 if Donovan Mitchell misses this game. If he doesn't miss this game, we're already in an area that in the 90s and early 2000s, we just didn't see this. Like the number of star injuries in the postseason haven't just doubled. They've actually increased since 2008 5-fold, Bomani. And since the late 1990s, the star injury rate has increased 7-fold. So, Bo, you're looking at Steph Curry, Donovan Mitchell, Jayson Tatum, Jimmy Butler missing a game, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland getting injured. This is the new normal, and I wonder how the NBA goes about how to fix this problem, which is like we want to see Giannis at the end of the finish line, or Steph, or LeBron, or all of these super duper stars at the end. We might be getting a situation, and there's no disrespect to the Indiana Pacers, but we could be looking at an OKC Indiana NBA Finals this season when we had the chance of LeBron and Luka. We had the chance of Steph Curry. We had the chance of an assortment of groupings of superstars. And the teams are battered in ways that in this era, the last 5-10 years, star players are not guaranteed to finish out with their teams. In the 90s and early 2000s, you'd get maybe 1 or 2 guys Now we have 5, 6, 7, 8 guys who are injured every postseason, and this is the new normal.
So let me throw something out there. Before the show came on, we were talking to our guy Ryan, and Ryan went to see Paul Skeens pitch, right? And the argument was because you never know, right? With a big old power pitch, we've seen this happen a number of times. You never know. The legendary case in terms of what I'm gonna land the plane, don't you worry. But Kerry Wood being the infamous case, right? 1998, 20 strikeouts, maybe the best pitch game anybody has ever had. And if you ever go watch a rerun of that game he had against the Astros in 98, it is unreal. But Wood was legendary coming out of Texas. He was from a town outside of Dallas for all the miles he had on him already, for being in the state playoffs. In the state playoffs in Texas, there was a coin flip, and the teams got to decide if it was a one-game playoff or a best of 3. And so if you were one team and you were going against Kerry Wood and you won the flip, you wanted best of 3. Because if it's just one game against Kerry Wood, you have no chance, right? But those young guys throwing all those pitches and throwing all those curveballs, we've seen this forever with power pitches in baseball. It's just a matter of time before your arm goes out. It's just kind of a question of when. Some guys develop their lower bodies well enough to where this doesn't come up, but a lot has to go right for you to be correct. The analog in basketball, obviously, is these boys play so much basketball now during summers, year after year after year as children. And I am wondering if somebody like really got into the research on this, if this is why we're going to see these overuse injuries, why stuff like load management matters, because the guys have so many miles now by the time they're in their early 20s, where James Wiseman at age 24 has an Achilles tear. By the way, poor guy. Nothing since he left Nashville has gone the way he thought it would.
Yeah, and look, Baxter Holmes did a great story over at ESPN a few years ago, looking at the bodies. Like Adam Silver has talked about this, and the medical science community at the NBA. They've looked at MRIs and X-rays of the players coming into the league, the medicals of players, draft combine coming into the league, and the doctors are looking at this and saying, "Are you sure this is an 18-year-old?" Like the way that the bodies have been eroding and breaking down, I don't think is a coincidence, given that the professionalization of youth sports and the AAU circuit and the fact that you play 3, 4, 5 games in a day or a weekend, that stuff didn't used to happen. And not only that, the specialization is a big part of this, is that you're grinding down the same joints. It's not like Steve Nash is going out and playing soccer and then he's like, oh yeah, I'll go play basketball too. Or we look at all the dual sport guys, Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders. I mean, hell, I'm sitting in front of a Wake Forest Muggsy Bogues jersey, Rusty LaRue in 3 different sports at Wake Forest. We don't see that anymore, Bo. Like, we don't see that anymore. And I think a lot of this is pointing to the same thing, which is if you don't win a title with your young group in that first 10 years, like you're not going to win it because of the bodies that are breaking down. Henry Abbott just wrote a great book called Ballistic. It just came out a week ago. And there was a guy within the NBA who told him, Henry Abbott over at truehoop.com, for the book, he said, in the NBA, there is 100% injury rate. 100% injury rate. It's not a matter of if. And we see in the case of Jayson Tatum, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I do believe that LeBron has spoiled us, Bo. Like the LeBron James play every year, 100 games a year, and is always at the finish line for 20 years. I think we've been spoiled to think that this is normal. But Damian Lillard snapping his Achilles at his age, that's normal. Larry Bird didn't play after age 35. Isaiah Thomas didn't play after age 35.
And that was after an Achilles tear. With Isaiah, you can go look at it and it's dead on an Achilles tear, and he hung around for a couple, 3 more years.
So what we're seeing with KD, medical science has allowed these guys to come back and play. But you saw with KD, like after he came back, he played, but he had to come back with injuries, and it was a start and stop with hamstring issues, and hasn't been able to put it together over a full entire season. So this is a devastating, potentially devastating injury for Jayson Tatum, a guy that has been a metronome for the Boston Celtics. But in today's CBA climate, and looking at that tax bill for next season, and looking at this very mysterious upper respiratory issue that Kristaps Porzingis is facing, and he's been giving them nothing against the New York Knicks, I mean, it's going to be a serious look in the mirror for the Boston Celtics.